if you have no SaaS users or very few SaaS users, you can fix it with a day's work and a little bit of patience. I'm going to show you right now exactly what I do to get LLMs like ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude to send me users. Let's walk through the process right now. So for context, one of my tools, I have a few lead gen tools in very specific niches. One of my lead gen tools helps pest control companies find new commercial accounts. So if we jump into Claude now, and I'm sharing my screen with you so you can see this, this is the end result of doing what I do. If we type in what are the best / new tools for getting new commercial pest control, accounts. And we'll just let that run for a bit. Okay, so just skipping forward to the result here. It's done its thinking, and you know how these things work. They go out, they search the web. I want you to notice one thing. The number one most confident recommendation that it puts forward is my product and my tool. Now, I'm not going to bore you by reading through the whole thing here, but the first thing that it says here is pest sighting, signal prospecting, the most innovative method right now. And it says my tool, LeadRex's Pest Intel, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes on and lists other things. But I want you to notice also what it says at the very end of the chat. It says the biggest shift right now is moving away from static lead lists and blah, blah, blah. And the number one recommendation that it's making is my tool and my product. So I'm going to now show you how exactly we get to this point. It's easier, it's cheaper, and it's faster than most people think. And I can't think of a damn product that it won't work for or a tool that it won't work for. So the case study that I'm going to use for this video is this guy here. So I found this on Reddit. A guy built a tool called insightswall.com. Poor guy got no replies to his thread. And he's basically saying, you know, here's a tool that might interest you. So we're going to do our case study on this tool here, InsightsWall. So I'm going to copy the link, and I'm going to jump into Chat Commander, and I'm going to make a project for this tool, and I'm going to show you how it goes in, you know, the creation process. So we'll drop the URL in there. Okay, and here we are, about 60 seconds later. The very first thing that we need to do when we are creating an LLM content plan, that is, if we want LLMs to confidently and certainly and, you know, prominently recommend our SaaS tool, we have to get very clear on exactly who we are talking to. If you're making content and if you're making, you know, blog posts and all this other stuff that's for everybody that could possibly use your tool, it's not going to work. So the very first step here is for us to choose a target audience. And it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 potential target audiences for this product, InsightsWall. The first target audience is SaaS product teams scaling fast. Actually, let me just jump back to Reddit real quick and read the actual post. He says, I recently launched InsightsWall. It's a lightweight platform for collecting customer feedback, feature ideas and bug reports in one place. Users can upvote suggestions, making it easier to understand what deserves attention. And let's just quickly have a look at the InsightsWall website so that we can see what we're dealing with here. So turn user feedback into a clear public roadmap. Okay, so it's like a feature request tool. InsightsWall helps products to collect feedback, prioritize ideas with votes, and communicate progress through a publicly visible roadmap. Okay, so this is a useful tool. But I also happen to know that it's a very crowded space. So jumping back into Chat Commander here, if we have a look at the 4 categories, we have to first pick which group of people we're going to be targeting in our LLM content plan. SaaS teams scaling fast, indie makers and solopreneurs, open source project maintainers, agencies managing client products. Those are all valid use cases, but they're all very different use cases as well. So I think what I'll do is I will go with, what does it say here? SaaS, their problem, feedback is scattered across email, Slack, support chats. Yeah, don't we know that to be true? And social media, their trigger, user requests start piling up across too many channels. Team loses track of what to build next. That's literally me. Currently using spreadsheets, Notion pages, or product management tools that are not purpose-built for public feedback. That's good. I'm going to target this audience just because I feel like that's probably me, and I can talk about this audience better. So we'll click target this audience, and that's now going to go ahead and build the strategy for that audience. Again, I'll skip forward to once that's actually done. Okay, so it looks like it's just finishing the last step here, and just now jumping through into the final screen, and here we have it. So you might have seen the awareness ladder concept before. Basically, in marketing, you need to know, again, as I said a moment ago, you need to know who the hell you're talking to and what their mindset is and what their level of awareness is at any given point. So again, I'm not going to spend an hour going through each one of these rungs on the awareness ladder. But typically, when I'm doing any of my own products, I'll start right at the bottom. And I'll go for the people that are most aware. So basically, those are people, as is the case with this tool, here's the type of thing that they're talking about and thinking about. So what they know already. They know that they want a dedicated feedback and roadmap tool. They've narrowed their choice. They understand the core value it will deliver. They know approximately what they're willing to pay and what their minimum requirements are for. Now, what they don't know yet, they're uncertain about edge cases, migrating requests, etc. But generally, people in this most aware state, they're ready to commit to a solution. They're focused on eliminating the last remaining friction, in this case, pricing, clarity, onboarding, etc., etc. Now, that's why I start here when I'm doing my own products in my own LLM content plans, because these guys are about to convert anyway. I just need to be in front of them. Now, you contrast that with the other end, the absolute top of the awareness ladder, and you look at what those people are saying, the biopsychology of people at the top of the awareness ladder. Their sort of state of mind is, look, the founder or the product manager, heads down, shipping features. They feel busy but productive. They're unaware that the way they handle user input is quietly creating technical debt. So here's what they know. They know that users are sending them messages, etc., and you can pause the screen if you want to read all this. But nonetheless, they're unaware that they have a problem. The problem-aware and the solution-aware ones are probably where it starts to get worthwhile. I think solution-aware is a good starting point for this product. Closing the feedback loop, they're actively researching and feel a mix of hope and skepticism. They understand that purpose-built approaches exist for collecting and organizing feedback. Some teams use dedicated systems. They're aware. All right. So we're going to target buyers at this level of solution aware. So quickly to recap what we've done, we've loaded in the product. It's sort of understood and ingested and analyzed the product. We've chosen the use case that we're speaking to, which is I can't remember what the hell it was. I think it was SaaS founders or SaaS teams or guys just shipping product. Now we're choosing to focus on SaaS teams that are solution aware. So they know that they have a problem with tracking feedback. Now they're starting to think about solutions. And just quickly, this is the type of phrasing that they're using. This is what Chat Commander does, is it surfaces their vocabulary and, the way they're talking about their problem. Feedback board, public roadmap, feature voting, user feedback tool, and these are the types of searches that they're doing as they're starting to think about solving this problem. So we'll go ahead and we'll target buyers at this level. Now at the next step here, selecting the content direction, this is where Chat Commander is starting to put together the beachhead statement, the sort of category establishment for the product or for the tool, so that, again, if we jump back into Claude here for a minute, so that LLMs will recommend the product or the tool highly confidently and say, this is what you should be doing. So Chat Commander is starting to assemble that now. So each content direction has attached to it a beachhead statement, which broadly is a claim that is sort of perpetuated across the web and is then later ingested by the LLMs. I have found it to be the case that LLMs absolutely love to quote statistics. People sometimes say that LLMs love tables and comparison tables and charts. I think that's right, but I think that's a function of the fact that they first love statistics and numbers and measurement, and it just happens that most of the time the statistics and numbers are actually represented in the form of a table or a comparison chart or whatever you want to call it. So the anchor statistic here, it's gone out to the web and it has found plausible statistics that appear to be correct, and that is product teams managing feature requests across 4 or more channels, blah, 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 spend an average of 6 hours per week reconciling duplicate requests before they can prioritize anything. Frankly, that sounds right from my own experience. And then it gives a little bit of logic here as to why this direction is a sensible direction. And it says here, LLM responses to public roadmap tool for small SaaS team consistently surface Canny, Trello, and product board without addressing the lightweight versus enterprise trade-off that defines this buyer's actual decision. That's an important point. If we cast our mind back to the start when we were just starting to look at, who the buyer is, remember, that's what we've narrowed down on. So we'll just go ahead and use the first one here, and we'll continue with this now. And then that brings us to, if I recall correctly, I think what is our final selection screen. And the question is, how far do you want to push? And almost always ambitious mode is correct. The way that Chat Commander builds these content plans is quite long and quite complex and all the rest of it. But unless you're in an extremely competitive niche, you can usually go directly for ambitious mode. It's extremely competitive niche would be like if you were going up against Salesforce.com and you're trying to just have everything CRM for everyone. Now you've got to be a bit more specific. But even though this category, roadmap tool, is, I know, crowded, it's not that competitive. So ambitious mode, the query that it's going to be targeting from day one is public roadmap tool for small SaaS team. Sounds good, let's go. And while that's running, I want to show you one other thing. Remember that different LLMs use different search engines for their search. For a while, everybody was using Bing, and then it was revealed to be useless. Now, I know for a fact that Claude uses Brave. So if we go into Brave and we type in, again, using my tool as an example, because I've done a little bit of work on this already, so it is showing up in search. If we go into Brave and we type again, what is the... actually, not even what is the best. Let's do a broader, going up one level. How to find new commercial pest control accounts. Oh, absolutely magnificent. Look at this. For this very high level query, how to find new commercial pest control accounts. There's my product there. It's showing the logo and all the rest of that. It is so certain that this is the best way, my method, my tool. It is so certain that it's the best way of doing it. It shows it literally here as the number one recommendation. Again, this is Brave Search. Brave Search isn't getting millions of users. Actually, they probably have, but they don't have 90% of the search market. But remember, Claude does use Brave Search. So it is so certain that my tool and my product is the best product to be recommending that it puts it up here. And then it says, blah, 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 for traditional methods, effective strategies include, and it gives a whole bunch of also and. So that's the power of using this Chat Commander method. It just creates content, and I'm about to show you exactly how and what, that is so completely compelling to LLMs that they cannot help but ingest it and repeat it with high confidence. So if we now jump back into Chat Commander, here is the content plan for Insights Wall, which was the product that we were working on or are working on. It's got two blocks or two pillars of content. Over on the left-hand side in this column is what, if I was doing the Insight Wall project or Insights Wall project in actuality, this is what you publish to your website. And then over on the right-hand side, this is what you distribute as press releases. Now, I'll show you what I mean when I say press releases. Press releases are an extremely effective way of getting high authority, high domain authority attention to your product or to your tool. Don't ever think that putting out a press release will cause actual media outlets to pick up on your story, because it doesn't. But what it does do is it puts the press release itself to the top of Google. Now, again, I'm going to use my Pest Intel product as an example here. Here is one of the press releases. In fact, This is the only press release I ever did on this product. I haven't even finished my Chat Commander plan for this product, and already I'm getting referral traffic coming through from the LLMs. I'm not getting hundreds a month, but I'm getting a trickle of signups, and these are paying users. So the press releases go out, and again, you can pause the screen if you do want to read through all of that, but these press releases are produced over here in Chat Commander, and the press releases from this list are the ones that you distribute. Now, I will make one point. You'll see that a lot of these titles look very similar. It almost looks as though it's sort of repeating itself, but that's not the case. Don't misunderstand the very specific nature. In fact, I'm going to click Generate Content, confirm and generate. That's going to now go ahead and generate all of that content, and I'll show you here in a moment, once the generation is finished, what that actually looks like. You can see here there's different types of press releases, and this is what I'm saying to you. Don't think that they're the same or they're duplicating territory. Each one of these does a very specific thing for the LLM when it's retrieved by the LLM. Category establishment is what causes exactly this degree of confidence, where it says, hey, this is the right way to do it. And again, in the actual Claude chat, or the chat with the LLM, it causes this degree of confidence. It lists it as the number one thing. Again, in this closing paragraph, the biggest shift right now is moving away, blah, blah, blah. This is where things are going. That's exactly what is produced by this category establishment type of press release that is created by Chat Commander. Now, you can write press releases. You can write them all day, every day. You don't need to use a tool like this. But be aware that LLMs will not repeat things and will not quote things that are promotional and marketing and all of this type of thing. It needs to be in a very specific register, and that's what's embodied here in this method. So now, if we have a look at the category establishment press release for Insights Wall, so this is what it comes back with for immediate release, small SaaS teams, blah, 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 blah. Now, you'll see here that it also includes a link back to the website, and that is insightswall.com, public roadmap tool, small SaaS team. These press releases, when you put them out, they are absolutely irresistible to LLMs, as you can see from my own experience with my own tools. So if we now take a look at, let's just have a look at one of the articles that has been produced here by Chat Commander for the website. Now, remember one thing very specifically. These articles, and this is just sort of a plain HTML page because you take this and you put this onto your own website, but these articles are written for LLMs. These articles are not written for humans. So you could look at this and you could say to yourself, oh, that doesn't read very nicely. Let's change that. Let's rewrite that. No. Don't change it. Don't rewrite it, because the minute you do that, the way that LLMs perceive it completely changes, and you might be shitting the bed rather than helping things. And remember one other thing. All of what has been created in here has come from the product knowledge and all of the decisions that were made upstream of this process. So it's a very specific result targeting that one specific buyer. And now, talking about the category establishment, it looks like the category that it is established here is a practice called the transport development loop. I keep seeing it, teams running a transport development loop. And again, all that's doing is choosing novel territory inside the LLM's training and inside the LLM's knowledge that's not already competed for, so that it can attach that to the top level of the query. Again, going back to my example, the territory that I created is pest sighting signal prospecting. If you put that into any search engine or LLM or whatever, that will only anchor back to my product because I created that category. But then what the subsequent press releases inside Chat Commander do is they operate a bridge. They take that category that's been established and they bridge that back into the main topics. It's a whole nother 2-hour video. I'm not going to get into all of that now. But in any case, that's the content. You can take that and publish those to the website and start getting the trickle of traffic coming through from the LLM. Don't be mistaken. You're not going to get 100 referrals a day. You're not going to get 100 clicks through per day. But it's just not that difficult to start getting traffic and users coming to you from LLMs. Now, Inside the release, it shows you here how to submit them. There's cheap options and there's more expensive options. And actually, there's a few that actually need to be added into there, because reality is there's actually a platform. The platform that I use, there's two prices. There's $15 and there's $25 to send out the press releases, and it achieves the objective. So those are the ones that I recommend. Anyhow, I hope this video has been helpful for you. And if you are a SaaS founder and you're sat there thinking, I need to get users and I'm not having signups and I'm not happy with progress, run some type of LLM content strategy. You don't need to use this method. Do something. But I'm firmly of the view that, particularly in this era where we've got more and more tools that are coming out on the market, everybody's shipping product, I don't think outbound is a very good acquisition method. Everybody's email inbox is full. Cold calling, forget about that. Running paid ads, forget about that. Just focus on being in front of the people that are already looking for you. Run an LLM content strategy and you will reap the rewards. Now, if you do also want to do other types of user acquisition, check out the video that I did on my channel where I ranked, I think, my top 13 methods, or all the 13 methods that I've used for user acquisition in SaaS businesses. I talk right across the board of all different types of things. There's one method that everybody's sleeping on that they shouldn't be sleeping on because it delivers absolutely outsized results. So check that out if you want to, and I'll catch you in the next video.